A lot of times in the lifespan of a project car, things can get a little bit shaky. What I mean by that is you get down into the weeds, you're starting to do the little nitty-gritty detail work, and you're starting to think, is this really gonna be worth it? Now, this is kind of where we are with the 1970 Plymouth Satellite. They were turning into a Richard Petty tribute car for my dad. This thing is blown apart into pieces, and really you have to get worse before you can get better. But thankfully, in this video, we're gonna complete our disc brake setup swap. We're gonna go ahead and swap out the rear axle to an upgraded, beefier unit, and we're gonna really just make everything so much better handling-wise. But you gotta wait till the very end of the video to figure out what we do. Now, the beauty about this thing is we are at the point where we are no longer tearing it down. This is the pivotal moment in a project car's life. We're turning around and going back the other direction where we're putting better stuff back in the car. So this is going to be an awesome and monumental project that I cannot wait for you guys to enjoy. So stick around to the end of the video so you can see just how much progress we make on the Richard Petty Tribute Superbird Satellite. Hey, and you didn't hear this from me, but if you go to the McCool Auto website right now, the link is in the description, and use McCool24 at checkout, it's 15% off site-wide. All right, back to the video. Alrighty, we're back on the Satellite. We've got the front end all taken care of, all sorts of new parts in here. So now we're gonna move on to the rear of the car. This thing has an 8 1/4 rear end, which is not bad, but there's better options out there. And that's what's all in the trunk of this car right here, is an 8 3/4. So this is all Roadrunner parts. This car, being a Satellite, was pretty much the base model of the time. So as you can see, it's all just been jam-packed in the trunk to keep it out of the weather. But we've got housing, we've got 2 Roadrunner leaf springs, we've got 11-inch brakes right here. We have axles, everything's here. We just have to put it all together. So first things first, we need to get everything out of there and just take inventory of what we got. Let's play a game. How much can you fit in the back of a 70s Mopar? We've got air grabber air cleaner, some really cool like vintage Cal custom valve covers that we may or may not use. There's our battery tray that we're going to be putting back in there. Oh, there's a distributor, a ballast. This is our 8 3/4 for a Roadrunner. That's going to be a key player in making this car have a lot of go to it. And let's see, shock plates, these are very important. Broken U-bolts, those are not very important. We need that. Oh my gosh. These are heavy. Get out of there. Roadrunner leaf springs. Oh, get out of there. There we go. Second leaf spring pack. So Dad bought this from a guy who had a Roadrunner that did a QA1 setup too, put a 9-inch in his car. So he had everything. I mean, he didn't want to keep any of it, but he didn't want to throw it away. So we got some extra hood hinges. The car doesn't need it, but we got them. And then these are 8 3/4 axles. We've actually got 2 sets. We have these original ones that have factory style press-in studs, and the other set of axles have like screw-in studs that are welded, super long, like race car style stuff, and they have green bearings on it, so don't really know what we're going to use. Here's our drums. There we go. Trunk's clean. So the answer to the question of how much stuff can fit into a 70s B-body trunk, a lot. An entire rear end, bunch of brake parts, sway bars, brake lines, valve covers, air cleaner, pretty much everything. Trunk is pretty good. It's got a couple pinholes of rust. Might try to patch it, paint it, just get it to where it's not going to rust out anymore. But we're good. So that took a ton of weight out of the back. I didn't even think about that. When we were trying to load this thing in the last video, we had a hard time, and I forgot that this thing was loaded down so much in the trunk, but that actually leveled it out a little bit. Looks better. So now we have to take inventory of all the rear axle stuff. Again, we're basically using everything that you see right here. We just have to go through, clean it, paint it, make it look a lot nicer. As you'll notice, we're missing the center section. That's in a different rear axle we have to go get. We're going to be using a 323 to put it all together. We're going to try and break this U-bolt loose. I would normally just drop the leaf springs and everything, but I need these U-bolts to replace with my new axle because this is a little dinky 8 1/4. No good. We don't need this. Please come loose.
crazy.
Wow. That's aggressive. My ears are ringing. Now it's not going to move. Of course. Of course. Oh, God. Wow. Go back the other way. Nope. She's done. Locked down.
That's crazy.
That's all she's got. I hate U-bolts, man. If this one starts moving, I'm not stopping. Well, let's go.
That's the trick.
Oh, look at that smoke.
Oh my gosh.
Excuse me? Well, that one stopped.
Cook 'em.
What's for lunch? U-bolt. My favorite thing to do in the world.
Break things.
Yes. Wait.
Righty tighty, lefty loosey. You need to push away from them, right?
Who is righty? And why is he loose? Oh. Why is it every time we do U-bolts, this happens?
It's always hard.
Well, it's getting a little better. I say that and it's going to get immediately worse.
But it didn't break.
Yet. I just don't understand why that one is like, yeah, I'll come out.
Psych.
All the other ones are like, no, yeah, I think that one's good now. I wasn't even going the right way.
Oh my gosh. All that hard work.
For nothing. Well, we kept going, and I broke one of them. It broke right at the bolt, and Briar ended up just cutting it loose. So the other one actually came loose just fine. I have 3 spares, thankfully. So we should have enough hardware here to make things work. Briar was able to get one completely off over here, and he's working on the second. You think it's going to work this time?
It's about out.
Oh, is it? Is it the last one?
No, I got one more.
Okay.
I'll let you touch it.
No, I'm good.
Smoking.
Having fun?
My back's not.
You could try out for a rowing team or something.
I might after I do this. I'm getting pretty good at it.
Bro, I got a basketball game today.
LeBron James.
Get up in here. Oh!
It's still there.
Were you there when I broke the U-bolt? Oh.
You have to hold one hand under the ratchet.
It's stupid. This is fun.
Yeah, the first one was fun. The third one was not.
Yeah! Woo! I feel like I haven't done anything.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, look. I got this one out for you.
Thank you.
I did that all by myself without your help.
I mean, you did take it out.
Who were the Chrysler engineer that thought fine threads on a U-bolt was a good idea? Unpainted U-bolt.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have a word with him.
Right now.
Call him. Where's Virgil Exner?
What?
Excuse me? Oh, I didn't get it all the way off. Ta-da! Oh, that one's bent anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Straight as an arrow.
Dang. We're gonna have a bunch of people asking, why don't we do this on the lift? Well, when you have a car that has no suspension under it for an extended amount of time, your lift gets occupied. And I'd rather have this car sitting here on the floor than on my lift. We'll go towards me first.
And then drop my end.
And drop your end. That way it's a little bit more easier on you. Is it broke loose?
Yeah.
Oh, let me pick it up. So, ow.
I went to hit.
Who put that there? There's a Plymouth here.
Uh-huh. Perfectly balanced. As all things should be. Yeah.
I get it. How much further?
Like
A lot.
Just. Oh, all right.
I'm gonna go down.
It's going to push it this way when you do it. All right, I'm clear. Oh, hold on. All right. You're going to have to drop it just a little bit. I don't know if it'll fit another traction bar.
Get out of there. You don't belong in there anymore. You're no longer welcome here, buddy.
Easy as pie.
But does it taste as good as pie?
I'll let you find that out.
No.
Tastes like trash.
So I went ahead and cleaned out the rest of the car, and the front and rear seat are actually very nice, considering. The rear door panels are nice. Somebody made door panels for the front. This side was beat up, so it's just been removed. So we'll probably make some door panels and then paint the door jambs as well as the door itself, because that door was painted black on the inside. The rears are still green, so we'll paint match all that real quick and then get the interior together. But the floors, near perfect. I mean, maybe a couple pinholes here and there, but overall, very nice inside the car. So at least structurally, this car is fantastic. So I went ahead and, like I said, cleaned out the rest. You can see all the stuff that we have over here. It's all our rear axle stuff. We've got 2 different sets of axles, depending on what we want. All sorts of, there's a suspension rebuild kit, ignition, like electronic ignition conversion. Found some brake shoes, extra torsion bars, oil pans, valve covers, more distributors, our air cleaner. There's all our brake lines and sway bars, service manual for a Dodge truck, multiple carburetors. Like Dad was just, you know, getting everything that he possibly could think he'd need just in case he would do something with this. You know, whenever the time came, he's like, I'm going to be over prepared. And by golly, he was. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can kind of pick and choose and figure out what we do and don't need. So we have a lot. One of the nicer B-body trunk floors that I've ever seen. Same thing with the inside. That's what makes this car so good, was that it's got really good bones. So we have a lot of stuff ahead of us, but we at least know where we're at, and I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a race car, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to sound good, look good, blow some tires off the rear, you know what I'm saying? Well, here's a familiar sight. We drove this car home. When did we do this prior?
Summer?
Was it in the summertime? It was hot, wasn't it?
It was very hot.
Yeah, so we actually drove this car home because my intentions were to use this for parts for this car and then the Junkyard Dig 70 satellite that we have. So I've got parts for this thing. The first thing I guess we're really needing is the e-brake cable, because the other side, on the passenger side on the blue car, was cut. So we went ahead and just pulled this car up in here. We'll probably just leave it here in case we need anything else major, but that should be one big thing, because you got to do the drums and you got to put the cable in there before you do everything else. And I was like, I don't really want to have to pull it all back apart to do it again. But we've got a ton of good stuff in here. I mean, this car has most of everything, but there are some things that it's missing. So once we get everything back together, this thing should be very useful for us. How's it going, Briar?
I have no idea what I'm doing.
He's, I was telling him, I was like, man, you should know how to do this one extremely obscure thing that, you know, 2 people on the planet really know how to do. It's just, it's a tedious little thing.
I thought it was just like part of the backing plate. Like, I thought it was like, once you went with it, that was it.
Unfortunately, I wish it were that easy, but sadly it is not.
Yeah, I'm figuring that out fast.
Yeah. We drove this car home, and it actually, well, it ran great up until...
Like the last little bit?
Yeah.
And then...
When it lost all the oil pressure with 2050 in it?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good for it.
Yes, the oil out is still on.
I don't know what else we might need out of this thing, but at least it's close.
Out.
Out?
Out.
Let's see it. Oh, no.
Oh. I don't know it was out.
Look at there. Now, whenever you go to remove another parking brake cable, do you think you can do it now?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, that's the thing about it. I have one of these for a later model B-body, but at some point they went to having 2 cables on each side instead of 1, and you need this extra long cable here to make it work, and apparently you can't just find them anywhere. So we've got a cable now. Now, I think this is it as far as taking stuff apart. We should be going back together at this point. Well, now we're going to be starting to tear apart our brakes because we've got a lot of stuff to do with this rear axle. These are 11-inch brakes, Roadrunner brakes that is. So these are going to go in the rear. We'll have discs in the front like we showed in the last episode. But again, we're upgrading from 10-inch to 11-inch. So that's going to be a good cause and a good thing to do.
Are we ready?
When you are.
Oh, okay. Welcome back to In Front of the Car with Briar. Right now I am about to start painting the axle housing here, this beautiful black color. To do this, I cleaned it with brake cleaner, and then I also got all the studs clean and taped them off very nicely, as you can see. Didn't miss anything. But we also have the leaf springs off. Got the bushings out, and they are on their way. So I'm about to get really, really nasty.
Can you explain why you're barefoot currently?
Because my mommy got me really nice boots right there, and I forgot my work boots, and I don't want to get those nasty, so here I am barefoot.
Because this paint doesn't come off.
No, at all, never. If it gets on me, it'll take like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, it's coming out.
Ready?
Yep.
It's pretty light. There's something else over there. What's that?
No, that's just
The liner? Yeah. All right, let's try it. Moving it towards this. Try and catch it with my foot. Get out of there. Oh gosh. Come on. Yep, we're close. Be careful. Oh, come on. You gotta be kidding me. Gas in here. slide out of there. I'll hold it up. There you go. Just set it on the ground. Look at all this room for activity. Wow.
Oh, roaches.
No. That's protein. Oh, if I can unfold. I'm stuck. Help. Oh. Come on. Glass pack.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, whoops. Like that way. We got rebuilt leaf springs, so all we did was just blow it apart. We put polyurethane bushings on each end, and as you saw, we painted them. So now it's time to throw them back in there. Briar's cleaning up our shackles and all the parts and hardware that go to that. So I told him while he's finishing up, I go ahead and get this side in. That is, if I can see it. Hello. Aha! Oh, no, the socket rolled as far as it possibly could away. Come here. Oh, wow. Haha. Heck yes. Looking good. This is a little bit lighter going in.
Yeah, they're going out. No. Gotta go through two.
There you go. And I'll go up. Keep going. All right. Now come back my way. Haha.
Perfect.
Look at there. Almost like it was made for it. Because it was. Looky, looky. Here comes Cookie.
Cook's Pest Control.
Okay, I didn't know if you were old enough to know that one.
Yes, I do remember those commercials. I'm really glad this wrench is crooked. It makes it nice.
Oh, that it's bent?
Yes.
I don't really know why I did that. I think I had a bolt or something in the bottom of that Plymouth is what it was. I don't really know why, but I felt the need I needed to bend it for some reason. I think it was to get to the motor mount.
Oh.
Because it was such a tight spot. It's the only way I could figure out how to do it. Let me get one more. There we go. Okay. Woo!
I didn't have to hold it half the time.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was going.
Get two in there. Don't need the rear end falling out. Yes.
Perfect.
Suspension!
Yep, start on the ground.
What a novel concept.
We're back in action. At this point, really.
Oh, it's drivable now. Put it on the ground. Let's go. When we go to the front of the car, and I've done some like tedious paint work, just kind of getting some detail stuff going on. And as you can see, we've got a few things added into the engine bay. So this car being it converted over to a disc brake car, we had to get rid of the distribution block and go with a proportioning valve. This is off of a later B body, Chrysler Cordoba, but it works really well, and most of our lines should line up and actually be able to be reused off of the drum master cylinder, which is another thing we have to replace. So again, we had a drum front, drum rear master cylinder. This is a 70 B body disc drum. So the front should have the proper residual valve and the rear should have the proper residual valve for a disc drum setup. So we have to run those lines through this disc brake proportioning valve in order to get everything to work. And I had all this stuff laying around. I mean, I kept this off of a junk car, so I just had it just waiting for the day that I knew I was going to need it. Really as simple as just swap it over the master cylinder made it a very easy swap. This is like a reinforcement plate for the brakes because on the B-body cars, they actually had different reinforcement plates. So if you had, say, a power brake car, this hole here, I believe it was moved up higher. And actually this car right here had that because it was a power drum car. And I stole it off of this car to go with manual disc. This car was already a manual brake car, so it was just as simple as painting that reinforcement plate there, bolting it back on. We had taken it off to do the engine bay, and we put it back in there. So now we can just slide this right back in the factory location. We've got a simple disc brake swap, people. I mean, it does not get any easier than that. And all I had to do was just make a little bracket to mount that on there. And my goal is to be able to bleed these brakes and have everything routed, because we got the firewall line, we've got, you know, the one that runs to the back of the car. I want to get all this done, and we can bleed the brakes before the engine even goes in. So when we drop the engine in, get it running, it'll actually be drivable at that point. All bolts into the factory locations. I just love clean parts and a clean engine bay. Man, that looks good. So I mentioned this bracket that I had to make to get the proportioning valve mounted to the frame rail. Now, whenever I actually had it on there, it was a little bit flimsy. So as you would put weight on it, it would kind of rock back and forth. So what I did, I actually took it and made these little triangulated pieces. I hope you can see that in there. And I'm going to weld these in here real fast, so that way we can actually have this thing being strong. So let's get this thing tied up, and we'll put it back in. If that moves, we've got much bigger problems. And I just realized I didn't wear a single glove. Don't do like me, guys. Wear your gloves. I forgot. And the best part about this all is that all the fittings are the exact same. So I'm able to reuse all of my old brake lines. Now, the thing about this one right here that I'm putting on is it's actually been shortened. I had to bring it down just a little bit because the distribution block set a little bit lower than what this one is, but it'll still work. And I was able to reuse the line for the most part. All done using factory parts.
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Well, Mopar Santa visited us today. We've got an 8 3/4 from a truck, but we want the center section because it is a 323. We've got something in the works to make that 323 spin both tires, as it should on this car. Go right ahead. You got it, I believe in you. Well, it must have been glued in. Yeah, they don't want that to come loose. Go grab you a hammer real quick. What? No. Good gracious, they locked it in there, didn't they?
It's tight. I didn't miss one, no.
I think I broke it loose. It seemed like it was wiggling.
It is loose in some places.
Some places, but not others?
Yes, it's holding somewhere.
Golly, they glued it. Man.
There you go.
We don't know if there's any oil in here, so I don't want to spill any if I can help it. But as much as this thing's been rolling around, I don't think there is any in it. Oh, wait, dummy. I forgot we have axle still in there. Oh, I got excited. Yeah, I don't think there's any oil in it. Well, one side's loose. This side here. There we go. See if that, is that other side unbolted? Yeah, there we go. And now it'll come out. Oh, yeah, it's bone dry. There we go.
Perfect.
Nice. Let's verify that it is a 323. Ow. Dang. This thing's heavy.
Hey, there's a clear table.
Go to the table. No. Got a little hard spot in it. Oh, I bet you that's that shield. Yeah. So way back when I was young and dumb, well, younger and dumber. So yeah, still young and dumb. I had a 323 Sure Grip, and they have these dust shields on here. And my rear end was doing the exact same thing. If you can listen, you can hear it. Hear that? That's that dust shield rubbing right there. So dummy me thought something was wrong, pulled the pinion nut, and then blew it all apart. I put a new seal in it, and then I just impacted it back on. About 600 or 700 miles later, this thing started roaring, and it was chattering real bad. Yeah, don't do that. So what I'm going to do is just take a screwdriver and just pry that up a little bit. But our ring gear looks fantastic. I don't see any, just crazy wear. So whenever we do what we're about to do, I mean, we do the exact same thing on the Charger. It's a really simple upgrade that we're going to show you here in just a minute. And it looked like it had a brand new gasket on it too. So really excited to see that. That's a nice step. All right, all I did was just bend that little dust shield back. Now it's quiet. Sounds good. It's got a little bit of play, which, I mean, it's supposed to have some backlash designed into it, and sounds like what's within specs. But ring gear, pinion gear, all that looks very clean. No broken teeth. So that's a good 323 open unit that is not going to be open for very long. Now 323 is a great highway gear, and that's what we want. We want to have something that we can actually enjoy, drive, but if it's an open rear end, then what's the fun in that? If we're not spinning both, then why even do any of this? Here's a fix. We've got a Power Lock Sure Grip unit from Quick Performance. Now this is an awesome unit. I've used one of these in my Charger, and it is the stuff. I got maybe a little over 2,000 or more miles on that setup, and I've not been nice to it even the slightest bit. And it has held up to all the abuse I've thrown at it. So this is a good, affordable option with plenty of performance in mind that you can use and just really be able to do at home. You don't have to have any fancy equipment besides being able to measure your backlash, but that's it. You can buy that on Amazon for really cheap. That's exactly what I did. So with this kit, we have the option to order new bearings and races. So these are already pressed on. Well, I was going to video me trying to get the ring gear off. Normally what I had to do in the past was heat it up and then pick up the whole case and then just drop it down on this wood. But it just popped off by itself. So while it's still hot, I'm going to take this, our new Sure Grip unit. See if I can slide it on here. Might have to heat it up some more. Oh, perfect fit. Well, almost perfect fit. Let's see. I had to pick it up just a hair on one end. May have to give it a little more heating. But that was hilarious. I was about to stop the time lapse to show y'all. Oh, there it went. And sure enough, it just slid right off. Trying to get it lined up with the bolt holes because it comes with new hardware. We want to get those started while it's still easy to move around. Now the fun part about these is that they are reverse thread, so they're left hand. How fun. So you got to go lefty tighty, righty loosey. And then you have to be able to have a torque wrench that can do left-hand thread torque specs too. Because I actually had to borrow Dad's from the last one I did because I didn't have the ability to do it. So I'm going to get all these started. We're going to have to do Loctite, of course, but just get all these started while this thing moves pretty easily. Ah, like that. See? See? Don't need that happening again. There we go. All right. Back in your place, in your new home. So we've got our center section pretty much completed with the Quick Performance Sure Grip. And what I ended up doing, again, you saw me torque all these down with Loctite on the ring gear bolts. And what I did was set all the new bearings in the race up inside these main caps. Got them torqued down with Loctite. And as you can see, I have it cinched down here with these holding retainer clips here. Everything's done with it because you're looking for 6 to 10 thousandths worth of backlash. So that backlash is just basically a gap in between the ring and pinion gear. So you can really hear it demonstrated right here. See, there's just a little bit of movement there. That's an important thing to have. So we have over here about 7 thousandths worth of backlash. Let me get it lined up here and I'll show you. It's not a lot of movement. You think about 7 thousandths. You see that movement back and forth? It's very minute, but that's enough to save this ring and pinion gear, because this whole center section was a nice running unit with no damage to it, so we want to keep it that way. So getting one of these right here will help you set up a center section and make things a heck of a lot easier, and really being able to visualize it instead of guessing, because when you think about it, there's a whole lot of room for error if you're going for 6 to 10 thousandths worth of backlash. I mean, that's not a really big gap. It was a lot of twisting and turning on these end cap adjusters here to make it work. But it's good, and now that it's good, we can go put it in the car, fill it up with oil, put it back on the ground, and this thing is done. Let's get our gasket on here. First and foremost, so you got two studs here that are really close together. There they are. These two top ones are closer together than the rest of them, so you know which way your gasket goes. Now, how are we going to do this is the real question. The car's a little lower than I'd anticipated. Ooh. Slide it on back. Put it right in place. Aha! Easy peasy. Gear swaps are fun, guys. Well, we're throwing the rear end back together, and we wanted to go ahead and upgrade the rear suspension. We wanted to keep it simple, so we went ahead and went with the QA1 double adjustable shocks. Now, these are great because check out the rebound and compression. So look, I can do this by hand, really easy to do, but when I crank it all the way up, that was on the lowest setting. If I crank these up, look at this. Golly. The reason that's a good thing is because when we're driving on the street, we want to have this thing riding really nice. But when we're autocrossing like we did with the Charger, you crank these bad boys up and this thing's going to handle like it's on rails. So we want to have the best of both worlds, and the QA1 double adjustable is the way to do it. These are fantastic shocks. I love them. Honestly, the best shock on the market in my opinion. I love these so much. So Briar, go ahead. You may throw them on.
So now that I have the shocks on, I'm putting on the backing plates with these freshly rebuilt drums. Thank you for that, Dylan. Uh-oh. Might be a slight problem here. Well, hold on. Okay, that scared me for a second. But anyway, I'm gonna put this axle in now with green bearings, I think Dylan said. So that means they're... I always got airplanes flying over this place for no reason. Anyway, green bearings, they're non-adjustable. And I have to figure out how to do this right. Done. Easy as pie.
I'll tell you what, that's a lot of work. After Briar got the backing plates and axles in, I went ahead and added on some new brake lines to the rear. So you can see, I just reused the ones that were on the car on the old axle. So we have all new brake lines. They're hooked into our wheel cylinder. We're gonna do brake hose back there. When we move up to the front, I went ahead and hooked up our calipers. So all the brake lines hooked up to the calipers with new hoses. I had to make this one over here on this side. It's all just so tedious work, but I made that brake line there. That one's hooked in. And the master cylinder, whew, I've never been more nervous. I've got it bleeding right now. We've got all the bleeders open. I'm just doing a gravity bleed at this point. Just filled it up, pumped the pedal a few times, and I'm gonna let it all just run through the bleeders. I almost spilt brake fluid all over the inner fender. This fitting right here started to drip. Thankfully I had this little rag up under here, but man, If I didn't, whew, we would have had to, I don't even know what I would have done. Probably just sat down and cried, honestly. I mean, this whole engine bay is gonna look fantastic when the engine's in here. And it might not have been very obvious, but to have a little burn up paint spot from brake fluid, oh, I would have cried. So we're being as careful as possible. We're gonna let these sit here and just kind of do its thing. We've got some bubbles in here. As you can see, there's some fluid and air working together, trying to get out of each other's way. And we're about to be bleeding this thing. We'll have brakes here before we know it, guys. Besides the drums, we can put this thing back on the ground. We went ahead and bled the brakes, so we've got brakes on all 4 corners. At the time we put the engine in and we get it to run, the car can pretty much pull out of the shop at that point. That's a really good feeling, because a lot of the effort and time and just the really time and hours spent goes into getting little stuff like this going. And thankfully, it was pretty straightforward because we used a lot of factory parts. That's the beauty of it, guys. Refurbishing factory parts means you don't have to spend a ton of money to have a ton of fun. We upgraded things, made them a lot more safe, made them handle a lot better, but we didn't break the bank in doing so. And also, we've got these double adjustable QA1s on the front. They're installed, ready to go. This car is gonna be awesome, and I can't wait to see this thing lettered up. 43 is on the doors, all nice and shiny blue, which brings us to the engine bay. Now underneath the hood, again, you saw us do all the brake lines and such, but on top of that, I went ahead and got the blower motor painted. I got the wiper motor removed, and I went through it, just made sure that we had high and low speed. Everything works as long as we got the switch working. I painted it, cleaned it up, got all the harness looking a lot better. So all we gotta do is just bolt it down and plug it back into our bulkhead, which we've got to pull the bulkhead through. Our engine harness is all right here. You know, I took it all out to paint the engine bay, so we got to reinstall that one, just make sure everything's good. But the car was cranking off a key and running, so I have no doubts that it's going to be a good harness to start with. We're gonna try and reuse a lot of the old stuff that we had because it worked. We don't have to go exotic when we don't have to. So we got to plug everything back in, get our steering column back in, and then it's ready to get the engine put back in the car. And when we get that big block sitting in between the fenders, that's game over. I mean, that's gonna do it for me right there. And when this thing is just blowing tires off thanks to that quick performance sure grip, that's gonna make all this effort worth it. Again, we didn't break the bank. We put a lot of time in this thing, a lot of effort, as you saw, but we didn't break the bank. We were cost effective. We made upgrades where they counted to make the driving experience of this car that much better. Folks, we have accomplished so much today. We got the whole rear end completely rebuilt, upgraded the rear axle, got a sure grip unit from Quick Performance, as well as upgrading shocks on all 4 corners. We upgraded the braking system, got all the brake lines done. We got all that bled, so this thing has disc brakes on the front, and it will handle and drive extremely well. I cannot wait to have this thing put back on the road. And again, the next episode, we're putting an engine in. I don't care what happens. This thing's gonna have an engine when you see this car in a future video. So make sure you do not miss out on that, because if you just subscribe and you turn on the notifications, you're not gonna miss out. So thank you guys so much for your support. Again, if you go down the link in the description below, 15% off if you use McCool24 at checkout on my website. On anything, t-shirts, stickers, you name it, it's 15% off, because all that money goes directly back into cars like this and putting them back on the road. And if you order quick enough, we will ship them out as fast as we can, so that way we can get it there by Christmas. We'll do our best to make that happen, guys. So go ahead, don't wait. Order them now so we can get those orders in. Thank you guys so much for your support, everything you've done for me over the years, and I really hope you're just as excited to see this car back on the road as I am. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.